God, if I only had a special guest for my late-night talk show. But alas, no one wants to be on my show anymore.
A rum and coke, please. I wish I had someone to ask me all these questions. And after I spent so much money on that theater and broadcasting equipment, I just don't have anyone to host my Q&A.
What's this? Is this my chance? A special guest to bring back my old show.
Is this for me? What? Okay.
Welcome back to Autumn Nights, a two-time resurrected and technically unlicensed broadcast, wherein I, your humble host, will ask the questions you dear viewers have sent in. Tonight, our first guest in who knows how long it's been. She's fabulous. She's a delight. She's all right. It's If Need Be.
Wow, it's me!
Bravo! She also goes by Kelly.
Thank you so much for asking your questions and joining us this evening. And thank you for hosting the Q&A.
And thank you, Kelly, for allowing me to overnight park my van in the lot behind the theater. Ha 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 ha.
Before we start, a lot of people asked long or multiple questions, so I split these up into sections for your convenience. So if you folks at home want to skip to different topics, there will be timestamps in the description of the video. We're going to start with some fun and silly personal questions, because I realized I never actually introduced myself anywhere on the channel yet. And then we'll get into the animation questions, and then I'll finally pitch online somewhere the show that I'm writing, across and over. And we may even have a special surprise after that. So here we go.
Alrighty, let's start this off with a couple of personal questions.
Oh, there were more of these than I thought there'd be.
And why do you think that is? How does it make you feel?
Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy?
Kid's sketchy. Back to you in the studio, Tom. Thanks, Chris. Okay, Kelly, first question. Where did you get your character? Do you feel like she came to you, or did you create her?
I've got quite a few characters I've shared so far, but I'm gonna assume you're talking about If Need Be. I actually designed her for an animation assignment my senior year of college back in 2023. I think we were supposed to design characters that represented ourselves or something like that. I've been using the name If Need Be for my online stuff since high school, and didn't start calling this character specifically If Need Be until 2024, I think? But I like what you asked about if I created her or if she came to me. It feels like she came to me in a way, especially since I started using If Need Be as a way to represent the workaholic side of my personality, and that's been influencing the way that I animate and draw her now. I'm really shy and I don't really go online, so this year, once more people started finding my channel, I've been using If Need Be as a way to kind of like split myself in half in a way, so that it's not so much my whole self that's openly in your line of sight, I guess. So the idea is, like, the internet can have every part of me that she is. You can love her and her work, or you can hate her and her work, or say whatever you want in the comments and she'll take all of it. But then I can still have, like, half of me that's just for me in the real world, you know? I don't know. It's been helping me not get so overwhelmed with the internet. I don't know. Anyways, back to the questions.
That was beautiful, Kelly. Very moving. So, what's your favorite color?
Oh, okay. So I really love this specific shade of moss green, but I selfishly like to keep it all to myself, and I don't draw with it that often. But most of my art lately has been very burnt orange, which is very closely my second favorite color. But my favorite colors change all the time, so I don't know.
Wow, that was fascinating. Unfortunately, that is not the answer we were looking for. Folks, that's right. The answer was, in fact, puce. However, we would have also accepted khaki or taupe. Better luck next time. Our next question is one that has been posed to every artist and craftsman since Michelangelo was bullied into the painting of the Sistine Chapel by the Catholic Church. Would you ever consider doing requests or commissions?
Okay, for real? If enough of you get together and demand a specific animation from me in the comments enough times, I will do it. I have no spine, and I am such a people pleaser, it's tearing apart my life. As for commissions, I've done a few illustration commissions in the past, and I hated it thoroughly. But if you know, anyone who wants to hire me to do rough animation for them, as a job, please someone hire me. I want to animate for a living so badly.
A simple one for you. What's your favorite animated show?
Adventure Time for sure. Since I was in the third grade, Adventure Time has been my all-time favorite. But it is really close to being a four-way tie between Adventure Time, Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, and Over the Garden Wall.
Ooh, let's get a look at that answer. Youch! That's 2 for 2 strikes. The answer we were looking for was Pingu.
Oh, crap, you're right. I forgot about Pingu. Shit, no, you're right. Pingu rules.
Another one here for you. When did you decide to design those awesome Bill Cipher earrings for your persona?
I can't believe someone asked about those. Wow, yeah, I didn't think anyone would care. Last September, actually. I remember because I was all excited about the Book of Bill that had just come out. Bill Cipher is my favorite villain of all time, and it's so difficult to find Bill Cipher related Gravity Falls merch. And for my birthday in September, I found some really cheap, shiny gold triangle earrings that I started to wear everywhere because they were so Bill aesthetic. And now I just draw them all the time because they're cute.
Okay, so this person just says, I got a question. Why are you so cool?
What? Oh, thank you. Sometimes y'all are so nice to me online, and I'm never prepared for it.
That was just really sweet. Do you think quarantine, that thing that fundamentally altered everyone's relationship with public spaces, do you think that affected your art?
Oh, okay. So I didn't think so at first, but looking back at it over the last couple of years, it absolutely affected it. But quarantine didn't change the actual art I was making, it more changed the way that I was making it. So I had started animating for the first time only months before quarantine started, and for reasons not related to quarantine, I wasn't in a very good place mentally. But animating was acting as a really good distraction, and finishing animated projects felt really good. So I think somewhere unconsciously along the way, some part of my brain decided that bad things happen when I stop animating. So, using animation as a vice during quarantine is absolutely why I'm a workaholic now. Um, well, okay. Yes, that and also because of pure spite.
Ah, yes, the depth of the present moment can only be experienced upon reflection. The evidence of our lives may be only the work we leave behind, the consequences of our actions and inaction. Let's get real here for a second, folks. We've all had existential thoughts now and again, some more than most. But the important thing to remember is that life has meaning when you ascribe meaning to it. Whatever there is in your life, you find something to hold on to. Friends, family, enemies. Moving along. Alright, let's do all 3 of these together. How was your day? Should people subscribe and hit that bell? Follow me on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook.
Thank you. My day was awesome. I hope you're having a good day too, random citizen. Yes, actually, it's so awkward to ask. so I really appreciate you doing it for me. But yes, it's free, and it's really helpful to the channel when y'all like subscribe and turn on notifications. Just like, keep me up on your shelf until I start making bigger projects. They don't cost nothing. Um, if you don't know about it, I am writing a show, but because I'm still learning to promote my work, I've been finding it easier for now to try to build an audience online before making the pilot episode so that hopefully strangers on the internet can talk about my show for me. Thanks. Okay, next question, please.
How has art impacted your life?
Art has been everything to me in my life. Everyone around me in my family has always had some kind of exceptional creative talent, despite what any of them will tell you. And all my friends are made up of the most talented people I've ever met, so my whole life I've been so inspired to be a part of that creativity. I grew up desperately wanting to be as artistic as everyone else around me. So I don't watch a lot of TV, especially as a kid, but I did watch a lot of Disney animations because we had so many in our tape collection. And later in middle school and high school, I got really into the cartoons that I still love today, and it has all just consumed all of my heart and left room for nothing else. Art is everything I dream about for my life. It's everything I am and need and want, and I think that's why it hurts so intensely bad when lately I've had some folks accusing me of using AI, when I am so open about being against AI art. Look, if my animations or any other artist's work looks like it took an insane amount of time to make, it's because it did. When I started animating, especially with any fan art that I make, I hope someone could look at my animations, understand how much time they took to make, and see in them how much I love the craft and how much this medium means to me. I love making art more than anything else in the world. If I get a say in it, it's what I'm doing from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep.
Hi, what software do you use to animate?
Firstly, what programs have you used if you haven't staked them out yet?
Like program
This is
and
cool.
LMS. That's
What
so
program
cool.
did you
What
use
to animate
to
this?
animate?
I want to
It
start
looks
getting
like there was
AI
What do
filler.
you
Did you
use,
hand draw
please?
every frame, or do you
on a
use the
website
same
that makes
vectors
animation?
and
What do you
all
use to animate what?
do
What do you
use to
animate on?
animate?
What animation
What
tool
app
do you use for animation? Okay. So, what programs do you use?
I think a lot of those asking are folks wanting to get into animation, so I'm gonna answer in a way to try to help out those people. But first, I do not use AI. Please stop asking. If I use AI, it feels like a witch hunt.
Every time you accuse an artist of using AI without researching, Akustos fucking dies. It says so right here.
So when I started animating, for the first few months, I actually animated on printer paper that I hole punched so that it could fit onto a plastic peg bar that I was given. These are pretty cheap. You can find them online, or I guess you could probably make one by, like, I don't know, like hammering nails into like a stick or something. Anyways, the college I went to gave us access to the program Dragonframe, which is how I took pictures of all the paper frames and edited them together. But over quarantine, when we were sent home, I used a free app on my phone called Stop Motion Studio. It's a great app, actually. I did all of my stop motion animations on it. I love it a bunch because it has an onion skin function, which is super great. I actually still use this app occasionally because I found non-stop motion related uses for it. For example, it's how I filmed the paper version of my If Need Be animation last summer, which was also just printer paper that I had spent like a week straight punching holes into. When I started animating digitally, I animated in Photoshop using the timeline window. I don't know, like if a lot of you are interested, comment a bunch about it, and I'll make a video explaining how to do that. But if you don't care, then don't say anything about it. There's probably existing tutorials somewhere online. But let me know. What else? Oh, okay. So currently, I do almost all of my animating in a program called TV Paint Animation. I got a scholarship this summer before my thesis year, which is how I was able to afford it. It's a bit pricey, but it's super worth it because one, I've used it almost every single day since I've got it. And two, I love that it's not a subscription-based program, so I can pay for it once and have it forever, even as it updates. It's a really great program, and I am extremely grateful to have access to it.
So, would you recommend something like TV Paint for a beginner?
I mean, like, if you have access to TV Paint through, like, if your budget allows or through school or a friend or something, it's fantastic for learning on because it's specifically for animation and it's a really easy program to learn. But I would never say you need to work in a fancy program like that in order to get into animation. There are a lot of free and more affordable programs you can use when you're first beginning that you can make equally great art with. I just wanted to be really transparent about what my journey has been with trying out different programs to animate in. Like, for example, even though I have access to TV Paint, and it's a great program, I have done a couple animations in Procreate in instances where, like, I'm out of town or I'm, like, bedridden or something, and I get that animation itch. Like, when I had my wisdom teeth removed, I started animating in Procreate that summer for my sanity. Or lately, I've been loving Procreate specifically for rotoscope because it's really tedious to rotoscope, and it's nice being able to carry around my iPad to wherever is comfortable to work. I later tried Procreate Dreams a year or so after that was released, but I personally didn't care for it. But my point is, when you're first starting to learn animation, it's good to try a bunch of different things, because some programs work for different people differently depending on your personal process and intuition. Okay, so that was a lot, but I think that covers the animation software. So for creating illustrations and backgrounds and things, for really cleaned up projects like my thesis, this video, and some secret animatic projects I'm working on, I draw in Photoshop. But fan art and visual development stuff, I draw on my iPad in Procreate. I actually prefer drawing in Procreate because I love the way the pen tools work and the effects windows are super easy for me to understand. But the file quality of Photoshop is nicer when editing, so I'd switch back and forth between the two. I edit videos in Adobe Premiere, and for effects and audio, when I have access to them, I occasionally use Lightroom, Audition, and After Effects, and sometimes I write music in Logic Pro. And I think someone asked about my tablet? Yes, okay. I animate on a Wacom tablet. I forget the specific kind, but I'll put it on the screen. I've had my tablet since high school, and it is the nicest thing that I own. I've been drawing and studying and animating for quite a while now, and it took me a long time to accumulate access to all this stuff. So it was important to me to explain the stuff that I was using way back in the beginning.
By the way, some cheaper alternatives here. Canvas Huion tablet, a bit more affordable, and of course, Bamboo tablets by Wacom. Non-display tablets are just as good if you're starting out. And Blender and OpenToons are both very robust open-source animation-capable programs. This person says, how many years have you been doing animation? Why did you start doing this? To be honest, you inspire me a lot.
Aw, thank you. That's one of the things I want the most. I really want to inspire other people to make art. I just think that's the coolest thing you can do for someone, inspiring them to be creative. Not counting like the 2 or 3 random class assignments before that, I started animating at the start of 2020. So, wow, yeah, it's been like 5 years now. What happened was, my senior year of high school, I'd already known for years that I wanted to do something with art. And I was so in love with cartoons, so I knew it had to be something with that. But I had like a dozen hobbies and didn't want to just pick one thing to be really good at. I wanted to do all of the things. I wanted a job where I could write and design and make music. And this was around the time I started hearing about what Rebecca Sugar was doing at the time. And I was like, I want to do that. What job is that? So that's how I figured out I wanted to be a director and write an animated show. But I had no idea how to go about doing that. And I wasn't even sure what a director was or like what they did. And I was super shy too, so I knew that that was going to be like a whole thing in itself I'd have to overcome to direct a show. So in the meantime, while I gave myself some time to grow up a bit more, I decided that I would try to learn all the animation and production pipeline stages during college, and that way I would understand how to direct them. At this point, I had never animated before, aside from like 2 or 3 sticky note flip books I made when I was like 10. So I thought learning to animate would be a really good place to start. I was never particularly good at anything in school. I was a very C average student my whole life. And by the end of high school, I started to think I just wasn't very smart or good at anything. But then I started animating in college. And okay, it was crazy. Everything suddenly clicked and animation just made sense to me. Turns out I wasn't like dumb this whole time. I just hadn't been inspired by like, I don't know, math. So it was really fun and weird at the same time because like I'd never been good at anything before. So when I started picking up animation so quickly, I clung onto it really hard and didn't let go.
Did you have any prior experience in animation from a professional standpoint, or is all the animation you learned self-taught?
So, okay, this is a complicated question. I technically did go to college for animation, but at the school I went to, the animation program focused more on experimental animation rather than pipeline animation for cartoons. So we weren't given a lot of structure or like a proper guide for how to animate a show or anything. It was a lot of being told there is no right or wrong way to do things, just express yourself. Like those kinds of vibes. So for the first 3 years of college, I only had like 8 or something actual 2D animation assignments, and the rest was just us testing out different mediums and studying existing animations, which I should say, if you don't know what you want to do yet, all of that would have been really helpful, and the classes were great, and they were ran really well. But I started college with a really clear vision already of what I wanted to do. So it was extremely frustrating on my end. Anyways, sometime before my senior year, the staff started to notice just how many students wanted to study more industry standard forms of animation, and classes for that started to be put into place, which was great. But it was a bit frustrating for me at the time because I was like about to graduate. So like, okay, like I remember I didn't know any of the industry standard stuff by the time my senior year started. So for the first 3 years of college, I had been animating on ones at 30 frames per second, not like to be fancy or extra or anything, but during my first year of college when I Googled how to animate for my first assignment, the first thing that came up was like, oh, some animations are on like 10 frames or 15 frames or 30 frames. And I'm like, I'm going to do the 30 frames because that sounds crazy. And that's just how I started animating. And no one noticed that's why I was animating like that for 3 years. Everyone, I guess, just thought I was crazy. I don't know. So then later when I proposed my thesis project to my panel during my senior year, I was so nervous that I wasn't going to get the green light because the project I was proposing was so huge. I wanted to make a 7-minute short film by myself, which I knew I could do, but I didn't know if they believed me that I could, But the panel was actually way more concerned with the insane way I had been animating all this time. We had like a half-hour discussion where they were like, yeah, we trust you. Make your 7-minute film by yourself. But oh my god, why are you animating like that? And I was like, what do you mean? I don't know. So it was decided that my thesis mentor and actual hero, Yerzavu, would sort of speedrun teach me all the industry stuff while I was doing my thesis. So, okay, to summarize, like half of my animation ability was self-taught while I was at college because we weren't really learning what I wanted to learn those first 3 years. And then the other half was taught all at once, as fast as possible by Za, which was honestly the most fun I've ever had in my life, and I wouldn't trade that year for the world. I remember I would be animating for my thesis, and we would have these meetings once a week where sometimes Za would be like, okay, we're going to spend today teaching you the basics of character design. And she would pull up just like so many years worth of class PowerPoints, and both of us standing at the computer, she would teach me character design in an hour. Or like at the same time as my thesis, Za had started teaching a character acting animation class that I was able to be in, where she was only letting me animate on 2s at 24 frames to try to like acclimate me back into the industry standard. So, okay, I went to college for animation, but half of what I learned was by doing 3 times the amount of required work for my animation or illustration assignments because there were so few of them. And the other half was by my thesis mentor, Za, teaching me personally during my senior year of college. Okay, so why am I bringing all that up? I think college is great if that's what works for you. It worked really well for me, but I knew specifically what I wanted out of school, and I went really out of my way to get everything I wanted out of it. Like, before college, I had no structure or ability to stick to a schedule or do things on time, which was most of what college helped me with. But I very much believe that you can totally learn on your own outside of school if you have the discipline for it. You very much can learn with just the help of 1 or 2 people who really know what they're doing. I strongly believe there's not a wrong way to get into animation.
What is your life like being an animator?
Oh, it's great. I haven't slept in 5 years.
What is your biggest inspiration when you animate? Your animations are so good.
Aw, thank you. I try. Okay, so like everything inspires me all the time. Animated shows, films, most real world stuff, mostly like plants and wind and the way fabric moves is a big one. Stickers, littlest pet shops, ostrich feathers. Have you touched glitter in the last week?
No, I haven't.
Well, I have.
Hmm.
Yarn, mods, clouds are cool, stripy things, liminal horror, bones. I have pretty severe nosebleeds quite often, so blood usually finds its way into my art. What else? Tunnels, clowns, the way colors change in dead flowers. But what I really love the most are stars. But I don't know. I'm inspired by beautiful things, and I think most things are beautiful.
Bit of a technical question here. What do you think is harder to work with? Tweening or frame by frame? I think a lot of us may not have the background to understand some of these terms. Do you want to go into that?
So I didn't know what tweening was even until like a couple months ago when someone asked if I did this and I had to look it up. I still don't really understand what tweening is, so I don't have any like really solid opinions about it yet. But I've never done tweening, and I never will, just because I have so much love for traditional animation and how personal frame by frame hand drawn stuff makes the final animation feel. Uh, I've heard that tweening can be tough to learn, but like frame by frame was pretty tough to learn. And then, well, okay. I just think that's the case with any program, right? Or like form of making animation, or like with anything you're trying to do for the first time. It's gonna be difficult at first. I don't know what's the answer that'll make the least people mad at me.
Ooh, that's the wrong answer.
Damn it!
We were not sure what the correct opinion on this was, but we are definitely sure that that is the incorrect opinion. And that's 3 strikes, folks. So naturally, we will now kill this version of you.
No, wait!
All right, everyone, let's welcome back to stage It's If Need Be.
Wow, it's me!
Bravo!
We got a question here for you. Do you hope to animate professionally in the future as a career? Where do you hope to go with your animations?
Yes, please. I want to animate professionally so bad. I've been looking for animation work for like 2 years now, and I'm gonna be real, I have had no luck. So I don't know if any of you happen to be in the industry, specifically indie animation work. My schedule is so free, it's crazy. What's that thing people say? How am I supposed to get any experience if no one gives me a chance? Please, someone hire me. I've been looking for work and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Anyways, the main goal with my animations right now is to someday make my show Across and Over. It's my dream, and I've been slowly stitching it together since like 2018. I'll talk about it more later though.
This viewer is asking, have you tried the grease pencil before in Blender?
Oh, you don't know the half of it. This is something I do really want to make a video on at some point if I find some time, because it was a whole situation, and it was so dumb and so funny looking back at it. Okay, so for those who don't know, I've only used Blender one time for this one scene in my thesis film. When I pitched my thesis, I was like, oh, and I want this scene's background to be done in 3D, and I'm gonna do it in Blender, and I'm only giving myself 1 week to do it. Oh, and I've never actually used Blender before in my life, so I'm also gonna teach myself during that week how to use Blender, but it'll all be okay, because I heard Grease Pencil is a great and easy tool to use. So I'd put a lot of emphasis on tried when I say I've tried Grease Pencil. Long story short, it did not go well. I have buckets of respect for anyone who uses Blender and knows how to use Grease Pencil, because it's a really cool tool. But I only had a few days to try to figure it out by myself, and I failed spectacularly. But I did end up finding another way to make the scene inside Blender anyways, but I won't get into that today because it's quite the long story.
Will you ever make time-lapse videos in the future? Anyways, keep up the amazing work.
I don't know, do y'all want time-lapse videos? Again, if you guys demand stuff enough times in the comments, chances are I'll probably do whatever. No, yeah. Also, thank you. I've thought about it. I might screen record some animation time-lapse videos in the future because I love when other animators do that, especially when I was first learning. I just wasn't sure if anyone would be interested or not. So yeah, since you brought it up, eventually I might do time-lapses.
Are you sure we're not James Baxter?
James Baxter? Is that you?
Oh, is you James Baxter?
James
Horse on a
Baxter?
ball
James
by
Baxter?
Are you James
on
Baxter?
animation.
Are you James Baxter?
Are you perhaps
James
welcome
Baxter?
between our
James
turn?
Baxter.
James
Baxter.
Junior over here. Good enough.
Welcome back.
Baxter.
Okay, now James Baxter.
James Baxter.
James Baxter.
James Baxter. James Baxter, animate this?
How do you feel about the James Baxter allegations?
Oh, you are all so sweet because that's my hero. But I'm Kelly Witt. I also make animations. I'm Kelly. Thank you.
Okay, so a few people have questions about your style of animation, so we've grouped them all together. What is your animation process like? And how do you manage your time?
Pretty much, I work until I fall asleep. But also, in college, having so many assignments happening at once meant that every minute of work time was extremely valuable to get it all done on time, especially with my thesis. So I found that if one task gets too tiresome, rather than wasting time procrastinating or doing work I'm not proud of because I did it when I was too tired, it's best to just stop doing that task and try doing many little easier tasks instead. It's really productive in the long run. Or, like, before stopping work for the night, sometimes doing an extra 15 minutes of something really easy, like organizing a spreadsheet or making a reference board or coloring in a few finished frames, saves a lot of time in the future. Those little bursts of 15 minutes of like a little something extra add up quickly when you do them every single day. And I guess the habit stuck over time, which is nice. So I manage my time by trying to always be doing something productive, even if it's not the same task all day. And sometimes being productive is remembering to eat and drink water and sleep too, I guess.
How do you make the spacing and timing look so seamless with consistent drawings that don't change shape randomly, other than using arcs?
This was something that was super hard for me for years. I'm gonna slow down some of my old animations on the board so that you can see what I mean. There were so many frames when I first started. Usually people didn't notice how bad at consistency I used to be. For years, I used to animate straight ahead rather than using keyframes. I didn't start using keyframes correctly until after college, actually, but keyframing made all the difference in the world, and that's really all there is to it. I used to spend like 5 minutes on keyframes, and they were really rough and really messy, very stick figurey. And that's fine for a while. And in certain projects, it's definitely a very beautiful style I'm very fond of, like with all those messy lines and wobbly proportions. Maybe I should animate like that again, because it does look really nice when done with intention. Anyways. So if you're trying to make what you're animating look consistent and precise, I'd recommend spending as much time giving a lot of love and care to your keyframes as you can. Because then all you have to do is fill in the frames in between. Making keyframes is faster if you can make or have access to a turnaround sheet for your characters, because you can line up the proportions with your reference guide. For small movements, though, a lot of the time I'll just use the transform tool during my keyframe stage. This is actually why I've been reanimating scenes from cartoons that I love and their show's original styles this year. I've been trying to get better at staying on model while keeping the drawings consistent.
How often do you film your own reference for complicated acting?
When I first started animating, I did a lot of rotoscoping, so I used to film most of my own references, or I'll film sometimes if dancing, hands, fabrics, or like weather-based things are involved, because those are a bit tough for me still to time out right. But for full body movements, it's become rarer over the years because cartoons are really forgiving with timing and anatomy stuff. What I've been doing lately instead of filming, like this is how I animated Pomni a while ago. I take a bunch of sticky notes and a pen. I have a floor-length mirror I look at, and I'll act out the movement I'm trying to animate, but I'll do it really slowly and draw out stick figure references on my sticky notes, paying attention to things like how my feet are angled, or what my arms naturally do, how my spine is bent, stuff like that. And then I'll sit back down with all my notes, and I'll make keyframes for my sticky note sketches.
How do you make your animation so smooth? What frame rates do you animate on? And do you have any tips when it comes to animating liquids or flamboyant items like fire?
So I used to animate on 30 frames per second on ones, but But now that I animate on 24 frames per second, if I feel like animating on ones, it definitely doesn't feel like a lot of work to me compared to what animating on 30 frames per second was like. But for the show that I'm writing, I don't think most of it is going to be animated like that. I'm still workshopping it, but I think it'll still be 24 frames per second, but I'll definitely move away from making so many frames beyond ones. Anyways, sorry. When animating, most of making something look smooth, once you nailed down keeping the drawings and volume of your character consistent, is all in the follow-through actions, in my opinion. I found that a lot of your in-between frames don't even need to look all that nice, so long as they're in the right spots. It's a fraction of a second you see them, so you can get away with quite a lot of little mistakes, but when your character stops moving, being a little extra with follow-through actions makes the movement look really clean for some reason. So these are movements like the last little shift of a lock of hair, or the bounce of an arm as your character rebalances themselves, or a whisker moving. Because when your character freezes and stops moving, the follow-through actions are the frames that your eyes are able to see and catch, and it doesn't take a lot of extra time to add in little movement to something with a follow-through action. As for animating liquids, I don't animate liquids often. That's actually something I still animate without keyframes. I pretty much do straight ahead animation until it looks right, but I do spend a lot of time, especially when I was a kid, sitting in the rain and watching how water moves and lands on stuff. I don't have a lot of water advice because I'm also still learning, but real life references help. Go outside and sit in the rain, you'll see.
Oh, I get it.
For fires, I haven't actually animated fire in a really long time and should probably do that again. But what I remember from fire is that you don't necessarily have to make smooth animation for it to look like fire. Fire is quite forgiving. I used to animate fire by just drawing a couple really dramatically different keyframes and making really rough, jagged in-betweens. I try to animate really aggressively when it comes to fire, but again, I haven't done that in years and need more practice before giving better advice.
Okay, this is the final question about animation specifically for today. How do you know how to capture so many little gentle gestures and make the animation look fluid and not cluttered?
First off, thank you. Gentleness is something I really specifically have been trying to put into my work whenever possible. So if my work is coming off that way, I'm really excited to hear it. But I don't know, I guess just a lot of patience and a lot of visualizing in my head how things should look. I think movement in the real world is so pretty, and when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time paying attention just to how things moved. Growing up, I spent a lot of time in the car on really long drives, and I spent most of that just looking outside and really paying attention to how stuff and people moved. I guess that's how I picked up animation so quickly, like why it just made sense to me when I first started. Half the battle, I think, is just thinking about it a lot and being able to see in your head what you want to do and then copying that. It also definitely helped that I did a lot of movement-based activities when I was a kid, like ballet and karate and kobudo and a couple other things like that. So I'm really hyper aware of how your body is supposed to look and where your weight needs to be in order to balance. I've talked to a few other animators about it in college who also did things like karate or ballet as a kid, and it helped them with their animations as well. Oh, and I also think because we watched a lot of Looney Tunes and Disney animations growing up, so my style ended up combining the exaggerated movement style of Looney Tunes with the overly soft and smooth movements of classic Disney animations. As for making my animations not look cluttered, I'm flattered that you think my animations don't look cluttered, because it has been brought to my attention like 100 times since 2020 that the opposite is true. But I've been really practicing this year and trying to get better at making my work less cluttered and more slowed down. I tend to animate way too many movements because I get so excited about it. But most of the time, I'm learning less is more. But I'm still trying really hard to put that into practice. But thank you.
Oof. Before we get to the last few questions of the night, I'm being told that Kelly would like to share a message with all of you watching.
Yes, really quick. I just wanted to say thank you for all the love everyone has given my animations this year. We started the year with just over 400 subscribers, and in September we passed 10,000, and it really means the most that there are people out there who enjoy my work and want to see more of it. I also wanted to say thank you for all the kind words you have given me. You have all been overwhelmingly positive, and it's been so inspiring, especially since for years I've been really dragging my feet on starting to put videos on YouTube because I'm kind of very scared of the internet. But everyone has just been so great, and it means a lot. Okay, so how did we all end up here today even? So I can talk about my favorite topic, of course. It's the reason I'm animating, it's the reason I do anything. It's all because of the show I'm writing, Across and Over. Across and Over is a story I've been working on and off since 2018. Very much just in my spare time at first. But when I graduated in 2023, I finally had the time to give the show my full attention. So, most of the development has been done over the last year and a half. Over the years, I've been really careful about how I share the visual development and character designs online because I hadn't decided what plot stuff I was keeping secret yet and which stuff I was going to share openly. Until today, it's really important to me that I approach telling Across and Over as if it were an already existing modern fairy tale that I'm reimagining. Meaning that before I could start talking about it too much for the way I'm specifically writing the story, I needed to write the ending of the show before I could write the pilot episode. So now that I very set in stone have an ending written for Across and Over, I can finally confidently share how the story starts. I haven't been doing a great job of talking about Across and Over online as of late, so only a few of you had specific questions, but they all have really packed answers. So here we go.
Our first Across and Over question is, what will your show be about? Do you have any more behind-the-scenes content you're willing to share? I want to learn mostly about this.
Thank you. Okay, here's the pitch. Several hundred years after an apocalyptic event unceremoniously known as Space Day, a group of kids wake up from cryosleep to find they've been being kept alive for hundreds of years by a small creature calling itself Kustos. Together, they search for any remaining civilizations while reinventing and rediscovering who they are, while processing that even though they have survived the end of the world, they will still someday die, just like everyone else before them. For the general vibe, I'm really inspired by 2010's Cartoon Network shows, so I want it to feel like a show that could have existed at that time. At the moment, I've been writing the show like it's a TV-14 show, but the whole thing is pretty much about, dealing with death, so we'll see how that turns out. The heart of the story, though, is really about exploring how it feels to grow up and shape your life and sense of self around the opportunities and paths that existed while you were a kid. And then what happens when the world literally ends just as you are about to finally grow up and start that life, when suddenly you have to reinvent your entire self. I think depending on the person, this could be a good thing or a bad thing. So each of my main characters, just before the apocalypse, was at a major transitional period in their lives. So for some, the end of the world erased the futures and dreams they had been desperately chasing their entire childhoods, forcing them to have to reinvent who they are and what matters to them. For others, the end of the world erased pressures and expectations placed upon them and has created a new kind of freedom to who they want to be, and they are now able to grow at their own pace. All of this is woven between a fairy tale-inspired story about a magical creature and a girl who together share a secret plot to face death himself and live forever. Okay, some behind-the-scenes stuff. I finally made a portfolio website over the summer where I shared a bunch of visual development stuff that I don't mind being out in the world that I'll put up on the board tonight. Most of this stuff is also already on Instagram, but I'll also share a few newer things that I don't think reveal too much plot stuff that isn't online anywhere yet. Most of the art I have online is relevant to the first couple of episodes of Season 1. If I could have the story go exactly as planned, it will have 4 seasons total. Each season will take place over a real life season. So starting with fall and ending with summer. 99% of the present day story in Across and Over takes place over one single year. When I started planning the story years ago, my thinking at the time was built around how my birthday is right at the start of fall. So to me, my year always starts in the fall and ends in the summer. And I wanted the story to follow that point of view. Okay, so in the main group, we have Paisley, Pippin, Kit, Angus, Harris, and Kustos. The first 4 being actual kids. Harris and especially Kustos are a bit older, but it's easier to just call the group the kids. So when I say the kids, I mean this entire group. If you didn't find me through my animations, and this is the first video of mine you're watching, you can watch my thesis film, which has been out since 2024. It doubles as a visual development / huge animation test for the show. Most of the plot is still canon, while most of the art style and character designs are less canon. It's not the pilot episode. but because it does stay true to the plot, I've been calling it a prologue. It's been out for a while now, and it's filled with tons of secrets that have yet to be found, so you should probably go definitely watch that after this if you haven't. What else? I guess I could share another thing I'm working on too. In my super spare time, like, this hasn't been a priority or anything, but I'm still really excited about it. I sometimes work on an animatic with Paisley and Kustos to test out how they're gonna interact on screen, so I thought it'd be fun to share some of that.
What are your plans for financing Across and Over after the pilot drops? Have you had problems with burnout? What are your strategies to avoid it? And how is progress on the show? They also say that they love your stuff, and that Across and Over is like no other show they've ever seen.
Thank you. That really means a whole lot. Like, I'm always super excited about the show, but it's really cool that a couple other people are getting excited about it too as I start to talk about it more. It definitely makes me work faster the more people also become interested in it. I'm planning on crowdfunding everything once the project is ready. I've thought back and forth about pitching the show to a streaming service, but it's really important to me that I get to write the story exactly as I want it. So when it comes to making the show in its entirety, I'm gonna do whatever gives me the most creative freedom. When I'm not trying to get YouTube off the ground, which these days does take up most of my time, unfortunately, until I can get monetized. For Across and Over, I'm writing, designing characters, designing background concepts, developing an animation style and style guides, and writing music, and all that other pre-production stuff. So I work on it every day, but until I can find any kind of income, it's just me working on all that at the moment. So I'm not sure when I'll have enough groundwork done for the pilot episode specifically in order to start crowdfunding its production. It would certainly go a lot faster if I could finally get some work, or if I could get the channel monetized. For Burnout, I kind of talked about this earlier, but quarantine turned me into a workaholic, and that combined with finally learning how to actually like sit down and finish projects while I was in college, I haven't necessarily burned out in years, which has been really fun. But it also means I don't know like how good of advice I can give. The first thing I can think of is based on a piece of advice my dad gave me when I was a kid about dreams. He said something along the lines of how it isn't enough to just want something really badly. You have to decide right away that that thing you want to do is already something that is going to certainly happen. If you can see your goal as something real early on, then you have something to chase. But also, sometimes, though rarely, I do still have days where I'll randomly panic and I'm like, what am I writing? What am I even doing? This will never work. And I need to step back for a couple days and reset and let the pressure subside. And then when I come back, I'm always like, oh, no, that's right. This is my dream, and I love everything about this. But when that happens, I work on my other show, which I love to make after if Across and Over happens. It's called The Rat, and that's all I'm going to share about it for a very long time. For me, at least, it helps a lot having more than just one project going at once, so that I can explore different topics and aesthetics that inspire me that don't fit into the Across and Over universe. That way I don't get bored just working on one thing for too long. For the show's progress, I have a rough outline done for the pilot episode, so I'm in the editing and messing with the script phase. I've talked about it earlier, but I have most of the key events planned across all 4 seasons, and I know how each season starts and ends really thoroughly, which is fun. I'm mostly filling in the gaps and trying to organize like a couple hundred pages of notes from the last 6 years in a legible way, while also doing visual development at the same time.
When is the next Across and Over episode coming? Take your time, I'm just wondering.
So this question isn't actually from the Q&A space I set up, but it was asked a while ago and I never responded to it, so I thought we should talk about it here in this space. And I have no idea. A lot of stuff has to line up for that to happen. The first one is finding an audience. I'm doing so much stuff behind the scenes by myself that I don't have any time to promote the story or the channel. But of course, there are tons of easy stuff you can all do to help out if you want to see the story happen. Like subscribing and all that stuff that I'm feeling too awkward to ask for a second time today.
But I am perfectly fine reiterating this. You guys should smash that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment, it helps engagement. Start a fight down there in the comments. Share it with your friends, your enemies, your distant relations with concerning political views. Get mad. Engagement is appreciated.
It does help me out a lot, just spreading the word about the show, or just my animations in general. A really big thing that would help free up some of my time would be getting the channel monetized. So just watching the animation shorts and commenting when they come out helps a lot. If I can get monetized, then I won't have to worry about my videos doing well every time I post them, meaning I can spend way more time on things for Across and Over, and on things like character test animations, and animatics, and making a concept trailer for the show, and properly composing the music I wrote last year for the concept trailer. It is so hard for me to ask you for help in this way. One of the biggest thorns in my side when I was in college was refusing to ever ask for help with anything. But Across and Over is everything to me, and I don't care how long it takes. I'm gonna find a way to make this show happen.
Huh, so, it looks like we actually have a little extra time.
Huh. I guess we could walk through the first few minutes of the pilot episode. That's fun. Okay, so the episode starts like this. The camera pans through the city.
I'm proud of you. Never.
Right, we're gonna move that later anyways. Okay. This is a song I wrote back when I had just started animating for the first time back in 2020, not too long after I figured out that making a show was my dream. I've never wanted anything more than this. I've never worked so hard. I've never dreamed like this. And if I should fall, then I'm gonna fall hard, so please catch me. Because I've never wanted anything more than this. And I've never been so damn close to reaching it. And I'm so scared I'll fall. What if I am not fast enough to take it? Because I've never wanted. I'll never want more than this. Because I've never wanted anything more than this. More than this. More than this. I wanna be
What did your parents feed you as a child?
What?